What is going on, YouTube? So, coming back with my USC Trojans football preview. So, a team that obviously goes into the year every season with just a load of expectations. It's USC football, and I don't think 2016 is going to be any different. The one difference is they have the hardest schedule in the country this year. They don't start off easy at all against the former NCAA champions, Alabama Crimson Tide. This is a team coming off an 8-6 season in which they lost the Pac-12 championship and their bowl game against Wisconsin. It wasn't a easy schedule at all last season either. So let's go ahead and get into my first of three key players, and that is Ronald Jones, which some of you might be wondering why I have him as my first key player. He isn't even in the. I don't think he's even the projected starter heading into the season. I think that's Justin Davis. Trey Madden's gone. I think Ronald Jones is their best chance at a 1,000-yard rusher of anyone in the backfield. I also think he's their best chance of a truly USC-worthy running back in a long time, probably since Reggie Bush. There's just he has that it factor. You watch him, it just seems like he's in the right spot, that he'll do big things. Heading into his sophomore season, I think he'll do big things this year. So my second key player is the guy taking over for Cody Kessler, and that is Max Brown. 5-star recruit coming into USC. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be successful this year. He's got a very, very good set of tight ends and wide receivers, obviously one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country, with Juju Smith-Schuster. He'll have a weapon on offense that's one of the most athletic guys in the country, in Adoree Jackson. I got Taylor McNamara, probably one of the best tight ends in the country as well. Not to mention Stephen Mitchell and Darius Rogers, junior and a senior, coming back. Should be a very good set of wide receivers for USC. While he's got all the weapons you will think he needs, sometimes USC quarterbacks just don't work out. But, it's big shoes to fill with Cody Kessler, and I honestly think if anyone can do it, it's Max Brown. So my third key player for USC is the former freshman standout, Cam Smith. Middle linebacker coming back for USC, should be the heart and soul of the linebacking core. This is a USC defense that should have their strength relying on the secondary and the linebackers. You're talking about two cornerbacks in Adoree Jackson and Iman Marshall that should be the best, in my opinion, the best cornerback duo in the Pac-12. When you're talking about the defensive line, Noah Jefferson, Malik Dorton, Rasheem Green, three sophomores that probably should be a really good defensive line combination heading into the future. Now, when you're talking about Cam Smith, a guy who I believe led all freshmen last year in the country in tackles, he's going to have to be just as big this year, starting aside three guys in Uchenna Nwosu, Osa Messina, and Porter Gustin. I think Osa Messina will be a draft pick in a year or two. Probably the most talented guy alongside Cam Smith. But this should be a very good linebacking core as well, a young one at that, though. So my two X factors for USC, the first one is for Max Brown to be successful. I mentioned this earlier. Obviously, that was the whole thing with him being a key player. But he's going to have to be huge this year. You're probably talking 3,000 yards, 30 touchdowns at least, for USC to even have a chance this year. I think the backfield of Justin Davis and Ronald Jones will be huge. There's no doubt about that. And like I said, he will have his support at wide receiver. He'll have his support at all the skill positions. He's just going to have to limit the turnovers and really just be a scoring machine at quarterback. There's no doubt in my mind that USC will be a talented team this year, one of the most talented in the country. That's not going to be able to be enough just to be able to get past, all of the tough teams on their schedule, Oregon, Stanford, USC, Alabama, Notre Dame, just to name a few. All right, so my second X factor is for them to pull off at least 2 upsets. Now, I know that's a pretty vague X factor, and it's a pretty obvious one for any team, but you're looking up and down USC's schedule, And I'd assume going into the UCLA, Notre Dame, Oregon, Stanford, and Alabama games, they will be underdogs in all of those games. Obviously, it depends on how the season plays out for some of those games later in the year. You don't know how USC or Oregon are going to be. Obviously, Notre Dame could have collapsed by then too. Who knows? But especially coming into the season, they're going to be underdogs against a team like Alabama. And for them to have a successful season by USC standards, they're probably going to have to be a 10-win team throughout the regular season, and that's going to be very hard to do with this regular season schedule. Like I said, they're going to have to pull off at least 2 upsets. So move into my trap game for USC, and I think it's going to be Washington. Washington is a top 25 team in a lot of people's mind heading into the season, so saying that that's a trap game might not be giving Washington enough credit, but it is at Husky Stadium, always a tough place to play. Washington coming back this year should be a very talented team once again. This is sandwiched in between Oregon and UCLA, so I don't think Washington's going to be on USC's mind at this point in the season. It is their easiest game of the final 4 games in the season between Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and Notre Dame. So that's another reason for them to be overlooking that game. But again, with USC's schedule, they can't afford to overlook any of the opponents on their schedule. So get into my the biggest game, and I think it's obvious, and that is UCLA. Obviously, their biggest rival, the team that they will probably be competing with in the Pac-12 South for the Pac-12 South title. And, in my mind, it's a 3-team race in the Pac-12 South. You had Utah competing last year. Arizona State was supposed to compete. But in my mind this year, it is between UCLA, USC, and Arizona. Even Arizona isn't up to USC and UCLA right now, talent-wise, and just with expectations. So that game might be deciding the Pac-12 South. So my record prediction for USC, and it's not going to make many USC fans happy, I don't think, and that is 8-5. I mean, when you're a USC fan, you got to be realistic this year. The expectations have been ridiculous, especially they were last year. Definitely did not pan out. I see a very similar season to last year. I think UCLA is the favorite to win the Pac-12 South, and I do think USC would be able to pull off a bowl win after a 7-5 regular season. So that pretty much does it for my USC preview. I'll be coming back with the opposite end of that later today with my UCLA preview. So it should be an interesting one there as well. So that's pretty much it. See ya.